Welcome to Mastering Innovation Together with Alan Kent and Chris Koomey of Thorben Consulting. And we're talking about AI, and we're talking about the ethics of AI. And a book that I read recently was written by Michael Crichton, who's the guy who wrote Jurassic Park, and it was called Prey. I believe it was his last book before he passed away. And basically what he talked about was how they programmed biological organisms to have certain characteristics to swarm. And then they added in a predator prey theory to it. And then they basically created this beast that could take over. And that really gets into the ethics side of this, of as we have to be careful about what we're asking these programs to do.
Yeah, and some of it is also just kind of putting in safeguards. So a lot, if we circle back to kind of OpenAI and some of the models that they have out, they're a company, they're a business. They license their models and have API fees for being able to leverage their models to use stuff. But then they also have a community kind of edition of, hey, you get so many credits and you can make so frequent requests to the model. You might not have the full processing speed of the model that the paid users get, but that enables OpenAI to get a large data set of the most chaotic use cases possible. If you just have your average Joe playing with the model and saying, okay, what can I make it do? So they very quickly have learned, okay, if you ask it to do something with a famous person or anything like that, like can we recognize those proper nouns? Can we say, oh, just kind of kill the process there and say, nope, that's something that I don't do. But then people have been experimenting with that and figuring out that there's ways to kind of get around some of those safeguards, and those are problems that we've got to work on addressing. One of the examples there was it tries not to be mean. So you could ask it to write kind of just a scathing, mean comment to send to somebody, and it will kind of say, no, I'm not going to do that, or I'm going to be very polite about it. But then people have realized that you can ask it to write a Python code to generate a very mean comment, and it will happily do that. So there's all these ways to kind of skirt the ones of humans are very chaotic. And so I think that the approach that OpenAI is taking of making the models very accessible to the community, to having that free kind of community tier of these models, allows them to get some of the most chaotic use of the models possible, to see just what humans will do with it, because people will do things that weren't initially intended, going all the way back to their original GPT model, where people started asking it programming questions, and that wasn't the initial intent of that. But then that kind of opened the box of, oh no, that's a very interesting use case, and with a little bit of effort, we can get it to produce something of value there.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, the opportunities as you're getting to these extremes. And really, we're just in the laboratory of AI, right? And now the world is the laboratory, and we're going to start seeing it being applied in ways that impact us in real life. But it's really just an idea at this point it's being activated, but it's still maturing.
Oh yeah, we're still very early days in it. But we're starting to approach a little bit of generalization on some of the AIs, but this kind of goes back to the early days of the internet. And hey, everything's unencrypted out there in the open, and simple little websites. And then we start realizing that, oh, you can have malicious intent here. You can take advantage of that, and as we had to start taking some of those protocols, that the protocols were originally developed with no security or privacy in mind, and we've had to kind of realize that as we evolve, no, those are strong principles that we need to have, and we're having to kind of upgrade the protocols and get systems migrated into a more secure and a more privacy focused architecture. And it's hard once the cat's out of the bag to kind of corral all that over, and it's something that the entire community that's involved with that, from the people designing the systems to the end users, to people trying to actually abuse those systems, all of those are input factors on developing how to approach it as humans collectively as a society. And so we're still very early days in AI. We're finally getting to the point where the AI can represent itself with some degree of smarts behind it, where it can actually start fooling some people into, and if you did not tell it this was generated by AI, a person might not realize that this was generated by AI. And so we're starting to cross that bridge where a lot of those discussions are coming to the forefront. There's the example of the AI that won an art contest, and started the discussion on, well, should an AI be able to win a art contest? Is the AI just imitating other artists and kind of using their work to generate its work? But then that launches the discussion on, has art always been kind of a matter of kind of taking from others and trying to develop the medium further? So there's a lot of discussions that are starting, and really interesting conversations.
Yeah, it's so interesting. You talk about how, the internet started with this communal spirit, right? It was much more thinking about from the positive side. And now with AI, now that we've gone through these 30 years of the internet, knowing that the positive side is not where it's going to end up. It's almost like AI is starting with the understanding of the negative, so that it can kind of avoid some of the dangers that were unforeseen with the internet.
Yeah, and I mean that's a flaw that we sometimes have as innovators. A lot of the innovators are very positively focused on what change can I impact, what new technology, or what new gift can I give to society. And so we're thinking of the positive outlook of that, and then somebody else is going to come along and say, oh, I can use that for XYZ instead. So that's something that we have to be conscious of as innovators, and it's part of us mastering innovation, is being able to kind of look beyond the immediate effects of what we're producing, and checking in, kind of just making sure that we understand the ramifications it can have outside of the initial scope.
It definitely gets us to think bigger when we're mastering innovation. So thank you, Alan. Thank you for mastering innovation together today with Thorben Consulting. This is Chris Koomey. We'd love to hear from you. If you enjoy the show, if you have any comments, questions, or just want to learn more about what we do. Thanks for joining us.